Welcome to a very special launch day live stream for Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, complete edition. I'm your host, Chris Waters, and joining me, the creator of Scott Pilgrim, it's Bryan Lee O'Malley. Hi, Bryan.
Hey, hi, everyone.
Look at this timing. Very perfect. Look at, we got the characters all running towards each other, the dramatic confrontation between Scott and the crew and the 7 evil Exes. It's great. It's an exciting day.
It sure is.
So,
what day is it? January 14th. The day that
it's
shall
a
live in
Thursday, and we are playing Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, complete edition. This game originally came out in 2010. Ubisoft has now re-released it today. This game's out now. It's out on PlayStation 4 and 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Series S and X, PC, Stadia, Amazon Luna, and included in a Ubisoft Plus subscription. We are going to be giving away some codes for this game in the Twitch chat today. So if you're watching on YouTube and you want to get in on those, head on over to twitch.tv/Ubisoft. If you're watching on Twitch, get ready. I'll tell you when it happens. It's going to happen in a second here. But first, Bryan, the game is here. You're looking at it. You're based.
It feels good. Looks good, sounds good, and I love seeing people playing, especially multiplayer. I'm already excited for all the Twitch streaming that's going to be done today and every day from now on.
From now on, this game will be Twitch streamable. It's back, and you too can batter some goons with a cone. Toss the cone to your friend so your friend can continue battering goons. I mean, if that isn't good Twitch streaming, I don't know what is. So, Bryan, let's give a little introduction here for folks who are tuning in. We got people coming in for a lot of reasons to this stream, but when they see the name Scott Pilgrim, they see the guy here up on the overlay, they see him punching folks on screen. You are the creator of this character in this world. Who is Scott Pilgrim?
Oh, boy. I haven't answered that question in a long time. Scott Pilgrim is a guy in a band from Toronto, which is where I used to live. And I thought I had the book. Oh, I have the book. Here it is.
We'll show and tell.
This was the book. This was the first. Sorry, my ring light is making a ring.
So classy.
There's Scott Pilgrim, the original black and white version, which came out almost 17 years ago now, which is crazy.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it was a little black and white comic book, and this little known director named Edgar Wright happened to read it at the time, the first year it came out, and then we started talking and putting a movie together, and then we put this game together, and and then years passed.
And that led you here. Well, I'm really curious to delve more into your role in creating this game, from the source material, your own creation. Just a quick shout out to the folks in the chat getting excited about Anamanaguchi. Anamanaguchi, the band who composed the soundtrack for this game that you're listening to right now, has created a special concert for y'all that we're going to see here in just a little bit. It's them playing the tunes after a decade after composing them, laid over with the gameplay. It's going to be really fun. That's coming up next, and following that, we're going to have an interview with the band themselves, and we'll be chatting with Anamanaguchi about all things Scott Pilgrim. But now, Bryan, you're working with Edgar Wright. You've created the idea for this movie, for this game. You're like, we got to make sure people can get run over by buses in it, because that's just an essential part of any gaming experience.
Specifically, Toronto TTC buses. Yeah.
Well, so that's a good question, right? This is like Toronto is a big part of Scott Pilgrim and his world. In terms of like putting the bus in there. What other kind of like location stuff is so important to this work, to this game? What is it about Toronto that really lives and breathes in Scott Pilgrim?
It was important to me at the time. I mean, that was my world when I was that age, like kind of early to mid-20s. I was in a band. I lived in Toronto. And all the places that I portrayed in the books, which ended up in the movie and the game, were just real spots that people would hang out, places where bands would play, or where my band would play, or whatever. And then the team that made the game was from Montreal, which is there's sort of like a Toronto-Montreal rivalry a little bit in terms of being like the kind of the cultural capital. So I feel like when I was looking at it today, like I feel like they put a few like digs about Toronto in the game. Like, so if you're local, I feel like you'll see like some like jokes and in jokes that are pretty specific to the places. But yeah, I don't know. It was such an interesting process. Like, I was working on the book at the same time as the movie and the game were being developed. But as I recall, there was a fan and producer at Ubisoft named Hayden, who was like really pushing to get this done. And then I remember he told me one day, we got Paul Robertson, and anyone who was like a nerdy game lover in the 2000s like knew Paul Robertson because he did this video called Pirate Baby Cabana Battle, something like that. It has a lot of words in the title, but it was like this incredible thing, like in the early days of YouTube. And it was this unimaginably complicated, beautiful pixel art brawl that was just like a movie that he made. And getting him on a game was such a coup. So the next thing I said was, we got to get Anamanaguchi. And I didn't even know at the time Anamanaguchi was like in high school. But they had been putting out these like EPs and tracks of like just the coolest, most upbeat chiptune music. And and they got them, and the rest is history. And I feel like the music is such a big part of why the game has endured and like kind of become legendary in the time that it was unavailable.
Yeah, I was listening to the music ahead of this because we got to talk with Anamanaguchi earlier this week, and they talked about how you kind of like rang them up and were like, "Hey, you guys want to do a little project here?" Or no, you were when they learned it was you who sort of picked them out. They were pretty stoked. So stay tuned. Later, you'll hear more about that in our interview with Anamanaguchi. But yeah, they composed a soundtrack for it, and it really, that kind of chiptune quality, this kind of like a 16-bit visual style. This is all, it's kind of a through line back to the original, source material, in which there is like video gaminess and sort of like that. That's a huge influence on Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. Specifically the game it owes a lot to River City Ransom, which was a huge game for me for Nintendo that came out early 1990, right when I got my Nintendo when I was a kid. So it was a two-player brawler where you collect coins from the enemies, and the enemies are just like kids in school that you're beating up, and and then we walk down the street, and there's like some of the areas are like a shop, and it's very chill, and there's this like chill music playing, and you would just go buy snacks, and it would add to your stats. I always maintained that I wanted to make a game like that for Scott Pilgrim, because the books do contain a lot of references to that game. And then here we are, and it's like a next gen River City Ransom with my characters.
With your characters, and they eat snacks and their stats get better, which I really appreciate, that snacks don't just like replenish the health and guts here in the game, but they also do improve your stats, because that's how good snacks feel to me. They feel like they actually make me a better person.
Yeah, and then also the all the kind of items, the item use in this game kind of builds on what they had in River City Ransom. In River City Ransom, there were like cardboard boxes and things that you could toss and you could stand on. And this game just took it to a whole nother level. Like, I love the little cups that you can throw around. There's like the baseball and the baseball bat, and like each area just has a whole bunch of random debris that you can use in the combat. It's so much fun.
I remember at one point picking up a large garbage bag and just swinging that around viciously, and just laughing at the idea of someone swinging the garbage bag around. It's so fun. But yeah, like being able to pick up the items, and now of course we see a boss fight against Matthew Patel, one of the 7 evil Exes. And boss fights are another kind of level of this game. We've talked about snacks, we talked about the beat 'em up, we talked about the items. Where, in terms of your creative input and creation, like where did you kind of land in the creation of this game? What kind of stuff did you tackle? Did you really put your efforts into?
I I think at first there was a more complicated version of this game that gradually got pared back. And in the end, I wrote all the text, basically, all the endings, certainly, and I drew the art for the cutscenes. I remember our producers were very... they wanted the cutscenes to have kissing in them, so they kind of... Scott and Ramona basically are making out like furiously in every cutscene, and everyone else is just kind of like standing there awkwardly. And that was, I don't know, that was just something that we saw as like an interesting reward at the end of a level to like watch these people kissing.
Well, it's like kind of this is their, this is what you're fighting for, Scott and Ramona, to be able to, yeah. And so your friends have got your back, but then they have to sit over there.
Yeah, there they are. Just like, what are we gonna do?
The Toronto skyline in the back under a full moon. Very, very cool.
Yeah, so I drew all of those little cutscenes and all the endings, and I wrote all the text at the endings. So if you ever beat the game, a lot of the endings are extremely silly, which I was very proud of.
And that's endings plural, right?
Yes, there's a different ending for each character. In the original release, you had to beat it with certain characters to unlock other characters. I don't know how exactly that plays out in this remaster, because I haven't actually beaten it yet, so we'll see.
Well, folks can find out, and right now in our Twitch chat, we are running a giveaway for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 version of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World Game Complete Edition. Go ahead, type in #giveaway. You only need to type it once. You'll be entered into our raffle, and then if you win, we'll send you a little Twitch Whisper with the code. You can download it and start playing it today. It'll be working on your PS4 or your PS5, and these are codes that will work around the world. So you too can get roasted by a large mascot, or perhaps shot by a mascot laser. Who doesn't want that? I ask you, Bryan.
This level was always really funny to me because it's about a film set. It's Lucas Lee, who's an actor in the story. And the first time I played the game actually was with one of the producers of the movie, Jared, my friend Jared LaBeouf. And we got to this level, and it's a film set that's sort of like the Scott Pilgrim film set. Edgar Wright makes a cameo. You just saw him a minute ago. And we were just like, this is so weird. This is our lives, but now it's a video game. And we're beating up guys in dragon costumes. So, it was like, it's a real interesting world that I live in personally. See, there's Edgar again.
There's Edgar. Oh, I'm so tired.
Life gets turned. I turn my life into a book, and then it turns into a movie and a game, and then I'm playing my life as a video game. So we had fun with it, and I think that translates to other people having fun with it.
My favorite part of this level is the weapon you can pick up that Kim was just wielding there is a C-stand, which is like a very film set thing. I don't know if you encounter that kind of item anywhere else unless you're on a film or a photography set, but it just is like very authentic. Like it's like all these little touches. It's so rich.
Yeah, there's so many little specific details like that. From the props to the background characters. I think almost every character from the books appears somewhere in the game, because I think Paul Robertson just was obsessive about it. He was probably just flipping through ostensibly this is an adaptation of the movie, but the movie wasn't done when they were working on the game, so they were probably just staring at the books all day. I'm gratified that they just stuck all these cool background characters in and made them look cute, and even if it has no effect on the gameplay, it's just it expands the world in such a cool way.
Absolutely. And it's a very authentic Bryan Lee O'Malley experience because it has that pile of skulls with candles on it that you have in your house.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, folks, the giveaway is about to end on Twitch, so go ahead and get your last entries in there. And we'll be doing giveaways throughout the broadcast, throughout the upcoming Anamanaguchi concert and the interview as well on a bunch of different platforms, so stay with us. Looks like we're coming up to another dramatic moment here as we throw a key at a wall and a huge portcullis opens. That's
I don't remember if this is the boss. No, it's not. The levels are very long in this game. I guess to any young people who haven't played it yet, it's like a pretty hard game. But
it is a little challenging.
If you level up a bit, you can really. It becomes clear that it's only hard at first. It gets a lot better.
Yeah, spend that money at the snack shops and secret stores. You'll get there. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and also playing with friends like makes the game go by so much faster, and it's just so entertaining to play with a bunch of friends. So I'm really happy it's going to have this online compatibility and all that.
Yeah, this is an online multiplayer game happening right now on Xbox Series X. It's got online multiplayer for up to 4 players as well as local multiplayer, and it also includes all the DLC, all the extra modes from that were released after the release of the original game. So when we say complete edition, we mean complete edition. Okay, I just want to say that. So this is you started Scott Pilgrim 17 years ago. This came out about 10 years ago. Since this game has come out, kind of what, has it been something you've thought about much? Is it like the legacy of Scott Pilgrim since then, now at the 10-year anniversary? How are you feeling? Like, how has it been over the past decade of these things hitting these different medias in a big way? To see it all come back now.
I think any fans in the chat know that they never stopped asking me about it every single day. It's literally like the number one thing that I've heard about for the past 6.5 years is like, what happened to the game? Where's the game? Why can't I play the game? And then, especially now, it's like people who maybe were too young to have played it when it first came out, and they've just been hearing about it incessantly, just like I have for the past 6 years. So, it's been hyped up a lot. So I hope it's not overhyped. I think it is genuinely like a really good game. It's a solid game that we put a lot of love into. So I'm just really glad that all those people get to check it out, whether you're watching it on Twitch or playing it with friends.
And speaking of Twitch, Bryan, you'll be appearing later on today in a limited run games stream for this game as well. That's going to be on twitch.tv/limited run games. That's the company that's putting out a physical edition of Scott Pilgrim, the game. And there's a ton of goodies in there. I imagine you will be discussing that a bunch more on that stream later today.
Yeah, hopefully we'll talk about it. I'm actually supposed to play the game on that stream, which is a little scary. I've never streamed before, so that'll be fun. And then I also know there's another stream going on Twitch I'm sure a lot of people are playing it today, but one that I know of is 2 streamers that I like a lot. The Completionist and Grand Pooh Bear are playing it around 2:30 PST. And I'm going to try to hang out and chat a little bit on that one too.
Nice. So you can make it a whole Scott Pilgrim day, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got our Anamanaguchi concert coming up here just in a few minutes, as well as an interview with the band following that. Let's talk. Let's kind of get the hype building a little bit for that Anamanaguchi concert here, and talk a little. You mentioned it a little bit before why you chose them for the soundtrack, but talk a little bit more about that band and what you think their kind of impact on this game is, Bryan.
Yeah. Well, when we were talking about the movie, long before we made the movie, Edgar and I were sending each other mix CDs back in the day when you made mix CDs. And at one point, I clued into Anamanaguchi and I sent it over to Edgar, and we were both just like losing our minds at how good they were. And like I said, they were in high school. I didn't even know how young they were. And then I don't remember when I first met them. It was probably after the game came out. I remember when the game came out that summer, they came to LA where I had just moved over here, and we all played the game on my couch, and that was so much fun.
Oh man.
But yeah, in terms of making the music, what I've heard in the past decade, the stories of how they churned out so many tracks in just a few months, and just how good the songs are. And how enduring the love for these songs has been. Last summer I was at Comic-Con, 2 summers ago now, but they played a little show at Comic-Con, and just as I was walking up, they kicked into I think it was Another Winter, the first stage level music, and it was just it's so nostalgic. The whole crowd lost their minds, and it's just it's such a good song, and it has it's a happy song. It's upbeat, but has this edge of kind of melancholy, and it's just beautiful stuff.
Oh man, I'm putting it on. Actually, we're putting it on in the concert very shortly. Yeah, you're getting us hyped up for this music. Now we're gonna have the concert go down here in just a few minutes. Bryan, before we wrap up our little chat here, is there anything else you want to share in terms of like, you know, folks who are excited about this game, or what you're up to now, or anything along those lines before we toss to Anamanaguchi?
I don't know. I mean, I've just been waiting for this day for so long. I don't really want to pull focus. Definitely, if you haven't read the Scott Pilgrim books, I think my publisher is doing a sale right now. Onipress.com, ONI Press. And we just put out this big box set last year, which, sorry, I can't find my webcam. It's just like a giant box that comes with 3 full-color paperback editions. And it's cool. I think the books are still pretty damn good.
Go ahead and check them out if this piques your interest, folks. You know, there's always the movie to check out, and the game now. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, is out now on PlayStation 4 and 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Series S and X, PC, Stadia, Amazon Luna, and is included with the Ubisoft Plus subscription. So a lot of places you can get your video games. You can get this video game today. Bryan Lee O'Malley, thank you so much for joining us on launch day and chatting about Scott Pilgrim and the game. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, Chris. Let's get hyped for Anamanaguchi.
Yes, indeed, folks. Stick around after for an interview with Anamanaguchi, including some elaboration on the stories Bryan shared with us during the interview here. But for now, it's the concert Anamanaguchi has prepped for you for this launch day, their classic soundtrack work on Scott Pilgrim. Without further ado, Anamanaguchi. And here they are, folks. The band themselves, Anamanaguchi, is here, having put together that fantastic concert you all just enjoyed. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me to chat about the game, about the music, about life. Why don't we introduce yourselves? Let's go around here. Peter, let's start with you and those glasses.
Yeah, these are the glasses that I'm wearing to disguise my sleep-deprived state. I'm feeling great. I play guitar, and that's why you got the guitar over there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Luke,
Thanks
how
for
are you
having
doing,
us
buddy?
on.
Hey, good morning. If anyone who doesn't know, I'm Luke. I played some drums in the band. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be on this fun call.
Yeah, so we're chatting about the concert. James, give folks a little bit of introduction here.
I'm James, and I play bass. Let's pass it to Ari.
Whoa!
He's
James! How'd you do that, dude?
I'm Ari.
Are you with
practice.
Ari?
Cheers.
Ari with a classy cheers, and the cat immediately jets out. Will the cat
Gotta get down to business.
Will the cat come back later in the interview, folks? Stay tuned. We will see. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the concert we just saw. You guys put that together, using obviously your music, footage from the game. What was going through your head? What did you want to do? What was your intention coming into that concert to really show off this music?
We've always been asked, why we don't play a ton of Scott Pilgrim soundtrack stuff in our live shows. Every now and then we'll throw one or two in an encore, but it's sort of tricky to fit in like 1 minute looping video game music in a set. So we really wanted an opportunity to do a sort of medley situation where we could play sort of the whole thing through, almost like an opera, maybe. I don't know. So we figured this is the perfect chance to do it because, the game is being re-released, and the soundtrack is being re-released too. And yeah, so it's really wonderful to do it. And, I would
Very
say
cool.
we could do it
Yeah.
again, but maybe we'll just watch the
I
video.
really wanted to say, I wish we could have done this live, but at the same time, like you were saying, I was like, hey, actually, I'm glad we didn't do this, in a, live concert setting. This is kind of, the ideal setting to perform a lot of this music, where you can really, focus in on it. But, yeah.
You can workshop Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, the opera, a little bit later on. That'll be your next project here. But
Scott Pilgrim, the game, the opera, the YouTube video.
listen,
The movie.
like
But
and
first, the
subscribe.
Twitch video.
Yeah. Well, simulcast, James. We're working with the big boys.
All right.
Absolutely, we got you. James, did those guitars back there get a workout during the concert here? What was what
They
did you bring?
did.
Yeah.
They did. One, thank you, Fender. We did use these guitars. They're
Excellent.
not
Yeah, massive shouts to Fendi. You can't shred without him.
You got a nice little pet name for them, and I appreciate that.
Wait, I want to make the Fendi logo now with the two Fender logos. Having, the two Fender logos. That's really sick.
That would match your hat very nicely, Ari.
I know, that'd go very well with my hat here. But I don't know if you can see it.
When you were
Just get
sort of
the
going
Fendi
back,
logo on there.
oh, sorry to peer. But when you guys are going back through the show, putting it together, did you talk to me about a favorite track that came through? You heard that melody again, you got into it again, you played it again, and you were like, yeah, this one was one of my favorites.
The most fun one for me to play, I forgot how fun it is to play, is the song for level 2, the kind of movie beach set, just like in the movies, which definitely felt to me the most 2010 Gucci of all of those. It has the fun, splashy, always having a good time and moving forward energy. I really like playing that song.
totally. That was going to be my pick as well. It's kind of bopping, always bopping ahead.
Absolutely.
There were some of the tracks, I have to say, running through all the songs, sort of relearning them, I found how difficult it was. It was almost as if beating a game sort of feeling. It was really hard, especially the tracks that Ari and Luke wrote for the Gideon levels. Y'all snapped. and my fingers are calloused.
Yeah, I think you did more like a video game. You had the.
I was gonna say, like, between Pete and I, even like there were a handful of tracks that like, we never even like really learned all the parts. It was kind of like we had to record when we like wrote and recorded these tracks. That was happening all like simultaneously as quickly as possible. So it'd be like as soon as one track was done, it's like we need to track it immediately so we can like work on this next track. So there's like a lot of the songs, like I didn't even like have time to like sit down and like ever really learn them. So it was fun like to go through this and be like, cool, like we have a little bit more time this time to like actually learn each track properly, like figure out every single part. So yeah, it was fun to like get to do that this time.
And Pete put together a spreadsheet where we could kind of track like everyone's progress through relearning each of the songs. We had like a color coding system. There's like what percentage comfortable you felt with playing it. Ultimately, I think they all got all.
I kept like typing. I was like typing skipped. I was like, I couldn't figure this one out. I'm just typing skipped, and I'll come back to it later. I'll learn this one later.
How was that to see the band's progress sort of percolate through the spreadsheet file, to have it all sort of come together? And you guys really pulled this thing together this week. I mean, just for the relaunch of Scott Pilgrim of the World, the game complete edition. Exciting to have it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always surprised that we're a band, except for Luke. Like, Luke can do anything, but like with me, it's mostly a self-surprise. Like, but listening to everything, I was just like, man, we like actually did this. This is sick. Having said that, it's gonna be an even crazier feeling, I think, to play the game again, which I haven't played. Well, I got to sit down a little bit with it at our concerts in early 2020, but sitting down and playing the game, I haven't played it probably since it came out in 2010. So I am that's because I didn't have a PS3 or 360. My roommate did, and then he moved away. It's all right, but we're gonna play it, and it's gonna be exciting to play it.
Do you have a character?
That's today?
Do you have yeah, it's out now. Do you have a character in mind that you particularly identify with?
I don't know about identify, but I want to play as Wallace because I didn't get the DLC situation, and now it's time. Yeah.
Excellent. What about y'all, Luke, James, Ari? Who's your character here? Who are you picking?
I consistently play heavies in whatever game offers heavies, so I usually enjoy playing
main,
Ramona.
Is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah, I play Ganon in Smash. I play Astaroth in Soul Calibur. So I'm going to play Ramona and have a big hammer in this game.
Those are some heavies.
Big
I got to stick with my bass brother, Scotty P.
There's a
That's what people call him that, right?
Absolutely.
My bass brother. Bass boy. I think
boys.
I'm gonna be Kim. I'm not gonna play very well. So don't watch. Don't look at me.
That's right. You got your crew here to carry you.
Ari's gonna be taking our extra lives and stuff.
I'm just gonna be in the corner. Like I'll be right here in the screen. No, am I reversed? Yeah, I'll be like here, staying away from everything.
Just like playing it real cool, grabbing the coins when you can.
Letting the time pass.
Well, I wanted to talk to you guys also a little bit about we kind of talked about revisiting this, bringing the concert to life this week. But let's take it back. Let's take it back 10 years to when you were first contacted to work on the soundtrack for this game. Can you tell us a little bit of that tale, the origin story of this project?
Yeah, of course. So it was a bit mysterious in the very beginning when we first got reached out for this. Basically, it was just like, there's a movie, and we're going to make a game for it. Would you be interested? And we were like, yeah, sure. That sounds exciting. And then it wasn't until about maybe 2 months later that I got a call, and they were like, it's for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but cool. And then that night, we were on tour in Lexington, Kentucky, crashing on friends' couches. I think James and I were awake watching CKY on the TV in the living room or whatever. I was about to go to sleep, and then I noticed a copy of the comic on the dude. It was the band that we were touring with, or that was hosting us. he had a copy of it on his coffee table. So I was like, all right, sick. I read it, thought it was amazing. And then the band, you know, we went traveling on tour looking for comic shops to get the other volumes, but they were totally out of order. And so, yeah, that we were all in college at the time too. So it was really exciting. It wasn't until later, actually this year, that we found out that Bryan had recommended us for the thing. So that it was super sick. And yeah, that's how it happened.
I mean, quite a vote of confidence when Bryan Lee O'Malley, creator of Scott Pilgrim, is picking you guys out of the crowd and being like, "I want them."
And we were nobodies. We were poo poo garbage at the time.
Whoa,
now we're big shots. I got sunglasses.
My goodness, look at you now. Well, I like that because it's kind of a very Scott Pilgrim story. Like, oh yeah, they told us they want us to work on the soundtrack for this thing. I have no idea what it is. Like, shows up at a house 3 hours later. There it is on the coffee table. Like, oh, all right, let's.
Yeah, it definitely was an Edgar Wright style smash cut. Like, yeah.
So
Scott
at the
picks
time,
up the book. Oh,
Uh-huh.
that's it.
It reads through
I literally just rewatched the movie right before doing this interview. No, that's not true. We just played a live show right before doing this interview. Right before that.
Yeah, it was 100% live. We're trying to convince everybody. Email your friends. The show was 100% live.
Woo.
Yeah, can we get a that was live in the chat, please? Thank you. Oh, everyone's doing it. That's great.
Amazing.
So nice. Thank you for the support, everybody.
That was live. So you're working on this. You get contacted to work on a video game. You figure out what Scott Pilgrim's all about, and then you kind of dive into it. Like, what is your, where are you drawing your inspiration from at this point? Obviously, you have your own musical style at that time. You're maybe reading you're finally tracking down every last issue of the comic. But like, what was kind of went into the project in terms of like, this is what we want to create?
Well, it was really a blend of, like, obviously there's a lot of like music in the world of the Scott Pilgrim comics and the movie, obviously. And so, Bryan made playlists for each of the books. Edgar Wright got every amazing musician in the world to make music for the movie. But, yeah, we really felt that it was like a natural confluence of so much of our influences in sort of, I guess you could say, retro 8-bit, 16-bit video games and sort of like indie music stuff, which we all grew up with, both of those things. And so, yeah, when we actually had like a lot of creative control in the process. Like, Ubisoft was amazing. And, I think it was Simon, the director of the music stuff. He would send us, maybe this DuckTales track is a good reference for this level. And we were like, all right, yeah, we get that. And then we'll take something that we think works from that and, add something from our, hot water music world or built to spill thing. I don't know. All kinds of worlds collide in that process. But yeah, Luke's got.
Yeah, it was also. I think it was also like the first time. I think it was like the first time for us to also get to like, dabble with some stuff that was kind of a little bit different than like a lot of like the Anamanaguchi stuff at the time. Even if it was just like for fun, right? Like doing like some of the tracks that are like way more like kind of like psycho metal tracks and stuff, where it's like, yeah, we're never gonna like seriously do this, but it's fun to like get to do it every once in a while. Also some of the tracks are like a little bit more like dancey and stuff that were like kind of fun to start playing with. Like some of the tracks are like a little bit more like 4 to the floor, where we're like, we wouldn't really know how to play this live if we had to, but it'll like work well for this setting. So it was,
we kind of ran with that as it goes.
Totally. Yeah. And I also think it was like for us, it was kind of like when we like had a pretty big like shift into like, we were definitely like a band before that. It's like, like we would practice together in a room and like play live shows together. And this is kind of like when we sort of shifted into being like, we're all producers also. We kind of became like a band of music producers in the process of doing this, where we'd be like sharing files with each other and like being like, all right, you work on this part, you work on this part. Like this will be like your style, this will be my style. You track this, you track that.
I think it's worth mentioning that much of this activity took place in Ari's basement with our friend Nate, who is our sort of mixer, producer, engineer homie. And just want to give a big shout out to Nate and the basement and the space heater. And I guess the
it was cold. It was a very, very cold basement.
Shout out to the space heater.
Cold,
Find that in the
cold
liner
basement,
notes.
great basement. I wrote a few of those songs in the hammock in the backyard of that house too. That was a great writing hammock.
With the space heater in the hammock, right? You just brought it up in there.
Yeah, between my legs like a cat. Yeah.
And so you guys have talking about sort of writing these songs, talked a little bit about your inspirations. You know, we've checked out some guitars in the back, but you also, you know, you're not just using traditional instruments per se to make your music. Let's do a little show and tell. Let's show the folks a little bit about what the kind of like chiptune element is here of Anamanaguchi.
All right, you want to see the chiptune goods? All right,
Bring it.
we got some chiptune goods. This is an original handwritten, great handwriting here. You see, it's live. It says live Anamanaguchi. You might say, oh, this says Donkey Kong Classics. No, that's crossed out. Nope.
It's crossed out.
And instead, there's an EEPROM socket here, and oh, look at my nails. And this, this is how you flash the thing in airport security and erase all your songs. So make sure you cover that with a little piece of masking tape. But this goes into a Nintendo console like any other Nintendo game, except instead of playing Donkey Kong, it plays the songs. So it treats the Nintendo like a synthesizer. Whatever.
Very
I guess
cool.
It is a synthesizer. It has a sound chip in there. So we programmed that, and everything on the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack is 100% hardware, either Nintendo Entertainment System or Game Boy. And obviously, we got the human hardware and strings and stuff.
The human
Big
hardware.
shout.
You got some show and tell?
Oh, we got some
there
Game
we go.
Boys here. All right, let's check this
Luke
out.
and I were both doing Game Boy stuff for this. This is like one of my last ones that still works, but using software like LSDJ, it still works, still does the thing. I've lost like pretty much everything that I wrote for Scott Pilgrim because these carts are fickle and just die eventually, like batteries go. So it's funny. I like went through all of it to like try and find like what like original files I still have, and they're unfortunately most of them gone. But I think Luke, do you still have a lot of yours?
I looked through and I have a couple of them. Like that's the problem, is that these things are so faulty that they really rely on you as a creator to do a lot of file management. So I have the Matthew Patel one somewhere, but I can't even reflash it because my computer is too new. But yeah, it's too new to actually use some of the software. But working on these bad boys I liked the ability to write anywhere. Like I was either in a hammock or I would used to take the train end to end when I was living with Ari and just like sit and write on this all day, because you just go and program each individual note and each individual phrase. A lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility, but only 4 channels. Not very many.
There's that guy sitting in the corner of the bus or of the train with his Game Boy. He's composing music. I mean, that's cool
Every
stuff.
day of my life. That was the interaction that I always used to have. So funny.
Yeah, I think it's just such a fascinating, like, finding that creative outlet. Like, certainly you can imagine, like, I program music on a computer. I use my computer programs to sound engineer, but like using the hardware element there and using it from that era specifically to get a specific kind of sound. That was a very, like, obviously a defining aspect of the soundtrack here and a defining aspect of y'all's sound as well. Are you still using some of those old things, or are they past their prime? You on to new gadgets and gizmos?
We still use them a bit, but we sort of treat them as just a piece in a larger scheme of things. Like the last album that we put out, USA, has it actually opens with a little NES cartridge thing. But yeah, no, we got little computers, we got big computers, and it's an orchestra of computers, and as always, we are trying to keep up,
Yeah, back when Scott Pilgrim came out, originally we were performing live on stage with an original NES. Actually, more than one, so you could queue up the songs on the next one when the first one is finishing. But that, as you might imagine, became kind of an issue when songs would like crash in the middle of a set because of the subwoofer on the stage, or just that anything could go wrong at any time. So it became it was fun in a chaotic way, but at a certain point we had to come up with something a little bit more reliable.
Yeah, you
I
know,
think
when
all
you
the time
when you
about it.
when you press the power button on a Nintendo, you hear a little pop, and that's interesting on your maybe TV setup. But sound guys get really mad at you when you press that button on their really expensive sound system.
Dude, that's
I
exactly
remember
what I was saying.
one guy threatened us, right?
Yeah, there was a
Threatened us?
dude
Yeah,
who
I
was
think
like,
so.
when we did that during a sound check and said, never do that on my system ever again. Like it's detrimental. It not only does it crash, people hate that. We had
Yeah, it was
since
funny. I
moved
remember
on
him being
from
like,
such
"Do like,"
things.
he was like, "Do that one more time and like see what'll happen." We're like, "Well, we have to."
That's right. Yeah,
Like,
right.
what do you mean?
Bad news, dude. Yeah.
So this wasn't so much like touring on the road as touring on the run from sound engineers. You're just leaving a wake of disgruntled venue guys behind you.
Yeah, that's why you got to play bigger and bigger venues every time, so they can't get you. They can't get through the security.
You thought it was just to accommodate more fans? No, it's to stay one step ahead.
It's a barrier.
It's a Nathan Fielder scheme that we are all in on.
So, all right, let's we've taken a look at like some of the stuff you guys were using back then. Then you release, you finish the soundtracking. This project is out there. People are playing this game on their PS3s and their Xbox 360s and what have you. What was the feeling at the time? Did you kind of have a moment to appreciate what was going on, or like feel the impact of this being out there, or was it just like on to the next thing? What was the vibe? It was a long time ago.
I'll take that. I'll take that one. Yeah.
I'm so bad at timelines. I can't do. I'm like, I don't remember like where stuff fell in the timeline, so I can't do it.
That's true. Yeah. Ari has an awful memory. It's amazing. But all that I remember is that when the game came out, I played it with my good friend Dave Morrow, who had done all of our album art, and we pulled an all-nighter. It's the perfect couch homey game. And then another thing I remember is I actually got to play it a little bit. I think maybe Ari was there. Our friend Leia, who's a photographer, we got to play it at Brian's house for like, I think that's maybe the first
We were all
night
there.
we like hung out.
Yeah, we were all there.
We were all there, yeah.
And they made it, and they made us
right.
cookies.
That's right. Yeah, it was a beautiful day, in sunny LA.
Eating cookies
but
and
yeah,
playing video
so-
games.
Yeah, it's the two food groups. But so yeah, no, my overall feeling when the game came out, things sort of felt different as it went on. Sort of people coming up to our shows, coming up to us at shows would sort of mention it. Normally they would mention like, "Oh, I found out about you guys because you release your own music to be pirated or whatever." But this time it was like, "Yo, I saw you on the PlayStation Store. This is sick." And yeah, Scott Pilgrim, the game. And they were like, "Yo, play those songs." And we were like, "We don't know how." And then here we did it.
Left some confused fans.
It felt like it took a little bit of time for, like, we heard that a lot in 2011 when we were touring with P-Lander at the time, and it became a little bit more clear after the game had been released for a little while just what people had gotten out of it. And I feel like, I don't know if you all agree with this, but for me, it didn't really, I didn't start to hear more about it until it was delisted. And it started to gain this sort of notoriety. I don't know. It was one of those things that just existed in space for a little while, and I think it made people really.
I think I agree with that, and I think people sort of noticed how much love went into it, not just in the sick music, but in the artwork and like all the little touches that are in there. There's just so much to enjoy, so much to have fun with your homies. Yeah.
And it's out now. The re-release is available now for you and all the homies to get into. Are you guys feeling like excited to revisit this music? Has it been like, we talked about it a little bit at the top of the interview, but like, you know, now in the coming weeks, this is back out there. What are you expecting? Like, how are you feeling about the Scott Pilgrim being once again a part of your lives?
Expecting.
I mean, I feel like we're doing our little part here of like it's fun to like get to play this like fun show we just did. But if anything, I think it's just I'm super excited for everyone that's been like waiting for this game to come back. You know, like it seems like there were some moments where it felt a little scary if it would ever happen. I think it's just like a kind of like a sick sigh of relief for everyone that's kind of like, yes, like thank God this is happening. And everyone that's been working on it has been like sick and like super hyped to make it happen. So it's for everyone involved with it.
Yeah, on that side, Ari, I want to mention that for the first time ever, the video game soundtrack is being released with an extra disc, which includes sort of the rest of the soundtrack, which has never been released before. And it took the game being re-released for that to happen. So a huge shout out to Limited Run Games, who are also producing the physical edition of the game on Switch and others, I believe. But yeah, it's I guess to answer your question, like what I'm expecting to happen, I guess learning my lesson from last time is I have no idea. I really don't know.
Excellent. Well, if you're curious about more about that limited run special edition, go to news.ubisoft.com to learn more, or check out any of these links below: Twitter, Patreon, Twitch, Instagram. That's where you can get in touch with the band and see their posts on what they're up to. Speaking of which, the game's out now. You got a potential, new generation of folks the next generation of those folks discovering Anamanaguchi through this game. So for the people who would come up to you and at your show and say, "Hey, I found out about you through this game. What's up?" Like, what would you point them to? What would you tell those folks you're up to now?
I mean, just this is a separate topic. Even just like you reminded me where like there were people. I remember people coming up to us at shows and stuff, being like, "Yeah, I found out about you guys through the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack, but I never got to play the game, like because it happened like before that, because like people were, like listening to the soundtrack outside of the game."
Right.
So I'm just like I'm very psyched for those people. Like everyone that ever came up to me and said like, "Damn, I really like your soundtrack, but I never I've only watched like screen caps of the game." So everyone that gets like finally play the game for the first time this time around, I'm super hyped for them.
Excellent.
But yeah, I would say if anyone's hype on the music, to check out our albums. We've been putting out albums before and after. We just put out a bunch of singles this summer, like maybe 8 songs. Yeah, and 10 years ago, when Scott Pilgrim originally came out, we also put out 10 singles that summer. So it was sort of another weird echo. And maybe we have plans to release both of those summer singles on vinyl. Who knows? Maybe this is an exclusive drop. Maybe this is the first time we've mentioned it.
Oh my goodness. Stick around to the end of interviews, folks. You always get the good stuff right at the end. And, stay tuned in 2030, more summer singles coming from Anamanaguchi.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
Yeah, on Patreon in 2030, we're going to have so many patrons. It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Bigger and bigger shows,
we like
bigger
to keep
and bigger
it fresh every 10 years.
Well, folks, be sure to go to these channels below. Check out the new music that Anamanaguchi has been releasing this past year. Get your look at Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, the soundtrack, and all that. And fellas, thank you so much for taking the time to chat about this. Big thank you for that concert, for putting that together for us. That was a real fun time. Any final words for the folks out there on your music, on the game, on cats or guitars, whatever your fancy may strike?
Well, speaking of cats, I have here Brian's adopt shirt. Mm-hmm. So if you see a cat to adopt, why not? Why not adopt the cat if you can handle it?
Right on.
Nice.
Luke, thank you so much for joining us, talking about the drums, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is a pretty. It's hard to describe how cool this is. very, very grateful for all of this.
Luke, let's
If
high
you're watching
five
this,
through
thanks for
the
having watched.
through the thing.
High fives. Oh, other way, Luke.
Shit.
Oh,
There it is.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's great. We did it.
Excellent. James, looking forward to getting back out there with your bass brother.
yes, indeed. Thanks for having us, Chris. I'm stoked to play the game again. It's been a long 10 years.
It has indeed. It has indeed. Ari, thank you so much. And special shout out to Wolfie. Thanks for popping into the frame there a few times.
For sure, she sends her love, and as do I.
Excellent. Folks, be sure to check out Anamanaguchi on Twitter, on Patreon, on Twitch, and on Instagram. Check out their music. Have fun playing the game. Have a great day.